All right, welcome back. This is Will. I'm from Music Protest, and today we're going to be talking about Drum Booth. So this is Sound Pack Roundup. I'm looking at sound packs, starting with Ableton. I'm probably going to move into other platforms later on, but this is a great place to come if you want to learn about sound packs. You probably have two, figure out what they're good for, how we can use them to compose, and also how we can use them to perform. So I'm going to start off like I have been recently, just by looking at what Ableton says about this pack. So let's go over to my computer here and let's just kind of look at this page from Ableton. So I'm going to read some of it just because it's a good way to discuss it, right? So contains carefully curated samples of acoustic kits, tight dry room, perfect on their own or reinforcement for electronic drums. That sounds interesting. Selection of unique experimental recordings not heard in standard acoustic libraries. So I guess, you know, maybe this is kind of building a little bit on some of their other sorry, I think the stream went offline there for a minute. All right, yeah, the stream went offline there for a minute, and I'm going to keep going, see if this, see if it holds up. All right, yeah, so it's kind of interesting, this idea that it's got some what they call unique experimental recordings. So let's listen to some of their demos and just see kind of what they might think they mean by experimental recordings. So pretty standard drum stuff there. Yeah, so there's like a little mixture in there of synthetic drums and acoustic drums. A lot of bass. All right, so let's see. As far as tags, I don't see any tags, but they do have other things you might like. I usually like to use this kind of as a little bit of a framework for figuring out what they think what Ableton thinks this sound pack might be good for. Slink devices modeled on natural movement of water. Big band essentials, extended sounds over here, deep dive into creative and artistic world of mode selector. The pack samples a huge variety of synths and drum machines. So it's that's not really giving me. I got Max for live devices, big band, and like it's not that clear, but I can definitely see the idea of this being really great reinforcement for electronic drums. So that's probably one thing that I'll explore today, is reinforcing some electronic drums, maybe just a standard 808 kit or something like that. But let's look also at the pack contents. There's no tags on this, so I guess, you know, since it's really just a drum sample library, especially if they're intending this to be used to reinforce electronic drums, then you know, this could be used in any genre. It's not really something that's like particularly hip hop or particularly techno. It's could be used in any of those environments. But let's see kind of what they've got. So 20 kits. So basically like, yeah, 20 drum racks. 3 more drum racks with 32 pads using multi-sample drum hits. So that maybe those are a little more specialized or like a little more focused on high-end recording. 3 kits with 64 pads and multi-sampled, laid out for finger drumming. 2 finger snare kits using 64 one-shot samples, record with the snares off and played by finger each. So a lot of multi-sampling there. 103 multi-sampled drum hits, so probably one-shots that you can load up onto a drum rack. So probably what I'll do today is we'll load up some of those on a drum rack, so one shots, and we'll also look at this idea of reinforcing like an 808 or a 909 or something with these hits as well, because it seems like that's really what they're getting at here. So you could put together a whole drum take on this, and I might look at doing that. I might pull like a groove or like a MIDI clip out and just reassign it to this drum rack as well, just to kind of see how that goes. All right, cool. So that gives us a good foundation. Let's go to Ableton and get started. Cool. All right, so I'm going to flip on over here to put on my nice little green screen overlay here, and then I've got my push down here. So I'll be doing some of this stuff on there. I'll try to make sure that anything that's happening on push, you can see what I'm doing. So let's start, just create like a real simple house beat with an 808. Okay, so I do that on my push. I've just got like the basic project open here, 2 MIDI files, 2 audio files. I'm gonna go ahead, add device. I'm not gonna start this with the pack. I'm gonna go and grab like an 808, just the 808 core kit, right? Very simple. And in note view, I'm just gonna go and create a basic snare. Okay, so got this like super basic boots and cats house beat, right? Kick, snare, open hat, closed hat. So we could take this and probably one of the things that I'd want to explore, since this is all about reinforcing, is just sending the MIDI from this drum rack, from this 808 drum rack, over into another drum rack from Drum Booth. All right, so for that, I'm going to go to my second MIDI channel here, and I am going to go, let's see, hang on just a sec, got a little technical problem. Let me just correct something over here. There's still some things about getting all set up on my setup here that I'm still learning. Anyways, I just took a sec. So I've got my MIDI, an empty MIDI track here. I'm going to load up a device here. I'm going to go this time to my packs, and I'm going to go down to Drum Booth. Let's find that. There it is. And look for drum kits. So all right, I like the sound of that fat kit. I'm gonna load that up. Now, since these are both, since the 808 and the Drum Booth kit are both Ableton drum racks, right? Since that's all drum racks, typically these things will be aligned on the same MIDI notes. In other words, like what's a kick on my 808 will be the same MIDI note as the kick on this kit. So what I can do is, right when I'm playing, I'm going to just kind of show you a little trick here. So I'm going to mute my 808, right? And I'm going to select my track here, my fat kit, and I'm going to go to mix again, and then up here, input and output. And I'm going to change this from the monitoring from auto to in. And I'm going to select input tip or a type is the 808 core kit. So what's happening now, right, is I'm getting the same MIDI that I programmed on the 808, but it's coming through the fat kit. And let me just, once again, something about something about push interferes with the, like, whenever I want to enable the second track on my push, it for some reason interferes with the live stream a little bit. Must be like some MIDI or OSC stuff going on. Anyway, that's besides the point. So what I've got here now is the same beat. In other words, if I go back to my 808 core kit, right, and I were to, let's say, put in another kick. Now that's coming through the Fat kit, through the drum booth kit, right? That's not coming through the 808. If I unmute the 808, now I've got exactly the same MIDI beat, exactly the same beat pattern that is in a clip on my 808 channel, right? But it is, it's kind of getting routed directly into my Fat kit. So that's a really nice thing of just using two drum racks, and this would be like a super easy way to reinforce things, right? Because now I can go to Mixer and I can just bring out my Fat kit. So there's my 808, and just like they're saying on the page, you want to try and use this to reinforce an electronic drum beat. I can just kind of like bring in the volume, and I can hear it coming in. I could even decide that I wanted more like, you know, the live. What might sound cool too on here is the drum bus. I could go down to audio effects and go down to drum bus. Oops, I put that on the 808. Let me put that on the Fat kit here. So I'm driving, I'm just using the drum bus to kind of like fatten up this Fat kit. And then I can blend in the 808. But at any point in time I want to change my pattern, right? I just go back to 808 originally. I delete the clip, start with my new kick. But now I'm getting the kick from my 808, and I'm getting kick from Drum Booth. So like that is a way cooler sound than either the 808 by itself or just the Fat kit. I mean, the Fat kit's nice. Personally, I like it a little better because I prefer acoustic sounds like that when I hear the two next to each other. But I way prefer both of them together. This reminds me a little bit of like deadmau5 beats are often like really powerful. I really like his beats. Like they're not powerful from that like boom, that like boomy sound, that like long sustained kick that's pretty popular. It's more just like it's edgy, it's tight, it's pretty dry, but it is like heavy, powerful. I like that. So that's a good example of using this to do reinforcement. Let's just look over at the computer for a sec and just see, you know, what's going on actually in here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit up here. So I've got this one MIDI clip on my 808. I got no MIDI clips running on my Fat kit. But as I come down here, I can see that I have MIDI in set to the 808 core kit, which is this channel, and everything else is I haven't changed, except you do need to change monitor from auto to in, because if you have this set to auto, then it's not going to just draw that MIDI right in and play it for you. Right, so you have to change this to in. Now, the advantage of this setup, as I stated earlier, is that you've only got one clip. You've got this one beat that you have to worry about, but anything that you change here is going to affect both kit channels, right? So if I mute, that's going to mute both kits. And I mean, I could even like go way off the deep end here and add, you know, now add a 909 in here, add another drum beat. I could layer like kit on top of kit on top of kit using Ableton drum racks, because everything's pretty much going to be configured the same. I won't get into it here, but if you're like a machine user, you can bring in machine and you can route the MIDI directly from a drum rack into like a machine group if there's a machine kit or a machine group that you really want to use. So you could also do this with Groove Agent, which is an awesome drum generator, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it. It's pretty elaborate. It's from Steinberg. I use it with Cubase, especially for percussion. I love it. It's way better than anything else I have for like creating a totally original beat. But the point is that probably a lot of other software you have, maybe Battery even, you can load it into Ableton, and as long as the MIDI notes for these pads, right, for, you know, whatever pad you're using here, as long as this MIDI note is routed correctly to you know, whatever you're trying to patch into, then you can layer up drums one on top of the other, keep layering them, right? So that is all. That's awesome. That's awesome, and I like that a lot. I like what I got out of this. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and undo the mutes that I made on the screen. I love this beat. I think this beat, like as a house beat, just the 808 was kind of, I don't know, thin, and with the layering, it was pretty easy. And so let's look at one shot. So what if we were to create, I'm going to go ahead, it seems like we're not going to be using MIDI tracks here, or audio tracks rather. So I'm going to go ahead, add another MIDI track. I mean, I could just add the drums straight on there, but let's go ahead and add device. I'm going to go down to just drum racks. I'm just going to add in like an empty drum rack, right? So this is really important and useful skill if you don't have it. So watch carefully. What we're going to do is load samples onto the individual pads from push, right? So right now I've got my 16 pads, but these 16 pads aren't connected to anything. If we look at the Mac, we can see down here, I'm going to zoom in for you, right? You got this drum rack. It's empty, nothing there. So we could still do the same trick where we, let me bring up my, oops, hang on a sec. So we could do the same trick here where we bring the MIDI in from our 808. So we just click this drum track, and I'm going to go ahead and just rename this in the software. I guess I'll name this channel, hit Command R, I'm going to rename it custom, right? So now I come back here and you can see that, gosh, I've got labeled custom, all right? I got my 16 pads. So if I want to load a one shot on here, what I have to do is select the pad, right? And then up here, I need to actually select that up here. This makes it possible to browse onto that pad. So now if I hit browse and I go to packs, let's say, and I go down to Drum Booth, go to samples, drums, and let's say I want to put a kick on there. Not really. All right, so I'm just going to go with that kick. All right. So now I've got that particular kick sample, that one shot is now on my kit. And if we go back to the software down here, we can see, there it is right there. Right? So it's pretty easy, but the key, well, I mean, I don't know, maybe you guys figured this out long before me, but if you don't hit the actual pad button up here, when you go to browse, it'll overwrite your drum track, right? So if I just go, if I'm on drum rack, well, let's just go somewhere else and make sure. Okay, so let's say I've chosen my drum rack channel and I haven't clicked anything up there, and I go to browse and I look for, go down to packs, and I go down, this is what not to do, by the way. This is what I was trying to avoid. So I go to samples, I go to drums, kick, right? And I'm just going to choose a random one here. Okay, see what happened now is it completely removed my drum rack. I don't have a drum rack anymore. I just have a clip here. And if you come back over here to the software, let me point this out here. Right, so in the software now, what I've got is just a simpler playing the sample. That's all I've got. It's not on a drum rack anymore. So, you know, it's kind of like, well, all I've got is this one sample on my track. I've got a simpler. So when you hit browse from a track and you find a one shot, it's just going to load a simpler. But I undo that. If I go to a specific pad, like, okay, I'm going to add a snare here, then I can, if I just hit browse, it's going to screw me up. I'm going to get a simpler. But if I come up here and I hit that button and select the pad, that's the same as selecting the pad. Now if I go to browse and I go over here and, you know, I want to find a snare. All right, there we go. Right, so now I've got, sorry, I didn't have the push on, so let me just do that again. So I'm going to add a closed hat here on this pad, okay? So what you got to do is you can select the pad if you want. Then you want to go up here and you can see how, hopefully you can see how the note changes as I select pads. Like that's G sharp 1, that's A1, that's A sharp 1, right? So I'm going to put a closed hat there, but I need to actually select that pad, make sure that's selected, then hit browse, then go to my drum hits, and then go to hi-hat, right, and then closed. I'm not saying that's my favorite sample, I'm just demonstrating this. Now that sample's on that pad, right? So I've got kick, snare, and hi-hat. So now I'm going to put an open hat right here. So I'm going to go back to my drums, select the pad, hit browse, going to find, I'm already in, well, let's go down to my packs, right? Because that's what we want to use is this drum booth. Go to samples, drums, hi-hat, and I'm looking for open. So it's not exactly the greatest, but there you go. Now I got kick, snare, closed hat, and open hat. Now if I start the pattern, right, and I come to my custom drum rack here, go to mix, and I hit mix again once I've selected the track. Now I can select change mix monitoring to in and change the input type to 808. Right, now you can see what's happening there. So that now I've got 3 drum racks all playing the same beat off of one MIDI clip, and then I can go back and I can mix this down. So track. That open hat was not a cool sound. All right, so now I can mix together my drums like that, right? Cool. All right, so that's basically, first of all, how we can do the reinforcement of like an 808 with one of the drum booth kits very easily just by importing the MIDI through the MIDI input. It's also a demonstration of how we can use the samples from this kit. Seems like Drum Booth has a lot of samples that we can pull in one shots. I think what did the web page say? 103 multi-sample drum hits, so you can create your own drum kits. Yeah, so I mean, it's not a massive library. It looks like this whole thing is 2.44 gigabytes. So, you know, pretty big, pretty substantial. It's not exactly a monster collection, but I'm sure if, like me, you've got Ableton Suite and you've been collecting sound packs for a while, then you got more than enough one-shots of snares and hi-hats and all that stuff, I'm sure. So anyway, gives you a framework for how you could create your own drum racks out of Drum Booth too. So let's just look at one final example, which is, let's say we want to get a groove. And we want to drive it into Drum Booth, right? So I'm going to use the Fat Kit for this. I'm going to duplicate the Fat Kit track, and I'm going to go to Mix, and I'm going to go to Input Output, and I'm going to turn this back into a regular track so it's not getting, I'll do all ins so that I can program it with a push. Monitoring is set back to auto, right? So now, I've got my Fat Kit set up. We know this is one of the kits from Drum Booth, right? So let's go on over to the computer and get a groove. So what I'm just going to do here is, I've got Drum Booth right here, expanded. I'm going to look at grooves, right? Actually, what I'm going to do first, I guess, before I look at grooves, I'm going to get MIDI clip. And all right, I'll drag this MIDI clip up onto, oh wait, whoops. See if I can find something. I want something maybe a little funkier than that. Well, let's see what they got for swing jazz. All right, that sounds nice. Let's go with that. I'm going to go ahead and pop that into my Fat Kit channel. Come on, computer. All right, so I'm dropping that into my Fat Kit drum rack. It's taking an unusual amount of time. All right, I gotta stop that other one. There's a lot of fill here. All right, so I don't really want that fill at the end. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna go to that track, session, hold down select, make sure I've selected that clip, go to clip, and I'm going to change the loop length to 2. Just get rid of that fill, right? That's all I wanted to do. So right now we've got this groove going on. Let's go back. Well, we've got this MIDI clip going on. I'm going to grab a groove, which is in Drum Booth, right? So it's just a different folder. The MIDI clips where we found this actual beat. I'm going to go grab this groove. Find something. All right, how about linear funk? And I'm going to open up my groove pool. I'm going to grab linear funk, put it in there, and I'm going to drag linear funk over onto swing jazz. All right, and I've got some controls here for my linear groove. timing 100%, quantize, bring that up. So whether you're looking at it here or in the groove pool here, there's kind of like different settings for just modifying that beat a little bit. So there are some cool grooves and MIDI clips, actual beats, and the grooves can be used in Groove Pool to like tweak. So it gives you another collection of grooves besides whatever's in the stock Groove Pool supply that you have. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff in here. It's all drum based. I definitely can see myself using this to reinforce. Like maybe I would draft up, if I was working on a project, I would draft up my beats and then maybe even percussion. And then I would do what we did here and bring up a whole bunch of layered kits, bring in some more kits from Drum Booth, knowing that they sound really good. And because I wanted, in some contexts, if you want acoustic sounding drums, it seems like Drum Booth is a good option for that. If you wanted something like super synthetic, maybe go with Digicussion or something like that. But Drum Booth seems like it's good for acoustic. So, all right, that's pretty much everything that we need to cover right now. Let me just quickly talk a little bit about how you can make these things performable, because that's always really important to me. So I'm going to switch back to my overhead here on my push, and I want to look at how I could make these performable. So one of the simplest ways to make a beat performable, go to that track and then go ahead and add a device like beat repeat, right? Pretty much any preset of beat repeat. So if I turn the gate all the way down, it effectively allows me to just return to my normal beat. As I bring the gate up, that becomes a way to kind of make whatever element performable. I just want to insert a little bit of beat repeat, right? So that's one example. Another example of making beats with Drum Booth more performable could add something like, well, actually, let's see. I don't think they said anything about this pack including instrument racks, but let's see if it does. No, they're just all samples and kits. So no drum rack or instrument racks, right? But we could take a pack that I know has some instrument racks, like chop and swing effect rack, right? Go ahead and grab this altered states. Go ahead and mute it, unmute it. Gives me another way. I could even duplicate this out onto another track or resample the audio coming out of this track into an audio clip, even chop that up, because beat repeat can take like a simple beat, produce a whole lot of audio, and then I can chop that up and use like the repeats and stuff, the stuff that wasn't actually in my original beat. So those are some suggestions. I mean, I think this Drum Booth sound pack's really much more for production than it is for performance. But, you know, those are a few ideas for how you can make your beats more performable. I mean, aside from obviously finger drumming and playing the beats live, is to put effects and effect racks on there and then use macros to change parameters, filtering, all that sort of stuff. All right. So thanks a lot for joining me. That's it for now. If you have any packs that you want me to cover, please reach out to me. Let me know. And otherwise, I'll be back on Wednesday around noon, doing this Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon, doing this sound packs for Ableton. And then eventually I'm probably going to dive into Machine and maybe Cubase and any other place I've got sound packs or sound libraries we can talk about. All right. So I'll see you on Wednesday. Thanks a lot.